Well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is because you're an actual scientist, and there's so many misconceptions when it comes to ketogenic diet, the benefits, the problems associated with it, and and there's a bunch of people that one of the things that I've found really fascinating is recently, because the ketogenic diet has become so popular, there's been these sort of sparsely educated meathead trainer type dudes that are poo-pooing the ketogenic diet. And whenever I see that happen, I go, oh, here's a person whose ideas are threatened. And, you know, like whenever someone says the ketogenic diet's not beneficial, or it says it's not really worth it, I'm like, okay, but you're not saying anything. Like, where's the science? Like, point to something. Because there's a substantial amount of science that shows the benefit of the ketogenic diet, but there's a lot of meatheads that are that have been critical of it. And when I read that, I'm like, okay, you're not saying anything. Like, there's no substantial reason why you're critical of it. This makes me think that you have been pushing a certain type of diet for a long time. This comes along, it shows contrary evidence, and you're trying to diminish it in some sort of a way, but without any actual science. So what have been the criticisms of the ketogenic diet, and how many of them are actually valid in terms of when I'm talking about – when I'm talking to people, especially if I'm talking to professional athletes, I'm talking to athletes whose very health it's very critical that they have energy, right? We're talking about fighters. Yeah. So for them, like to recommend a ketogenic diet to a fighter, it's very tricky, because you're talking like 1%, 2% performance could be the difference between victory and defeat, and maybe even being knocked out or submitted and being successful.
Yeah. So I think most important, people need to appreciate that when you transition your body from burning carbohydrates and glucose and forcing it to rely primarily off fat and ketones for fuel, it's not one or the other, but you're shifting for the predominant fuel source to be fat and ketones. And that's not something that happens like overnight, and it doesn't even happen in 2 or 3 weeks. So what I've seen in elite level cyclists and other types of sports is that it really takes a minimum of like 3 months, ideally 6 months, and even after a year, I think you're getting changes even at the epigenetic level. We know that ketones function as a signaling molecule through histone deacetylase activity, that it's actually turning on genes that's causing adaptations in our body. And these happen slowly over time. The more you follow the ketogenic diet, the easier it gets, because there's a learning curve to implementing it. But the more you follow it, the easier it gets, and the more benefits you derive from it over time. And those benefits really don't start to emerge, the benefits that I'm thinking about, after about 2 or 3 months. And
you're talking about benefits on a cellular level, not a performance level?
Okay, from a performance level, a minimum of 2 months. Like, your performance will go down. So you have to accept, I mean, this is something that fighters would have to do in the off season.
I was stunned.
Athletes
I was stunned at how much of an impact it had on me. I mean, I thought...
Oh, yeah. I mean, how fast were
the
benefits?
Well, the benefits, the weight loss was pretty significant pretty quickly. I lost a few pounds like within the first week or two.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm pretty active, and it's not, I didn't change much other than that. But what I was amazed at, like the keto flu, what people call the keto flu.
Did you get that?
The dragging. Yeah. For the first week or two, like I was just and I would do like a hard workout, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how long I can keep doing this.
Yeah, okay, that's normal.
like a big one was hitting the bag. Mm-hmm. That's when I would really feel it, because I do rounds where I'll set like a certain amount of rounds, a certain amount of time, and that's when I could really feel the difference from day to day, and I was really struggling.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to adapt to that, or did you adapt to that?
It felt like a month in, it started to normalize.
Okay.
Like
I mean, that would be consistent with the literature. If you're looking at cyclists, and if you're, a number of different athletes, it takes about 6 weeks. I mean, your performance will go down and then start to creep up back to baseline at around the 6-week mark. And if you adhere to it strictly and really stick with your training, in the 12-week mark, you could be breaking new PRs, depending on
personal
the sport.
Records
Personal records, and that's primarily directed to, I would say, endurance athletes, ultramarathon athletes, to cyclists, to runners, to Ironman athletes. And the thing that emerged out of all the emails that I get of people sending me blood work and their performance measurements is that I used to think it was about, a month or two. It's more like 3 months to 6 months when they really start hitting their stride. Because I think there's pretty profound changes when you alter the fuel that you're giving your body in such a profound way.
Well, one of the first things that I noticed, one of the first benefits was cognitive, clarity. Lack of fogginess towards the middle of the day, the no desire to take a nap, and no drop. Like, I'd have the big meal thing and then the drop, the valley, when, your body's like digesting everything.
Yeah.
And then I thought that was just how you lived. I thought there was no getting around that. That's life. You eat, then you get sleepy. I didn't think that there was any other options.
Yep.
Going on a ketogenic diet completely changed that. And when I would tell people about it, they're like, nothing? I'd be like, I'm telling you, there's no difference. I mean, I would eat a meal and go throughout my day, and then it'd be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, where's this crash? It's like the crash is supposed to be here. Like, where's it coming? No crash.
Yeah, same thing with me. Looking back at and